Welcome to another episode of the Profitable Christian Business Podcast. I have another returning guest uh, to the podcast. Back when the podcast was the Entrepreneur Journey, I had my friend Christopher Colgin on, and we talked a lot about his chiropractic business and his wellness business. We might have touched a little bit on his faith, but I told him, Chris, I want you to come back because the podcast has changed a little bit. We dive a lot more into the faith topics because as Christian entrepreneurs, we want to know how faith is intertwined through your journey as an entrepreneur. So, welcome, Chris. If you don't mind introducing yourself a little bit.
Hi, my name is Dr. Chris Colgin. I've been a chiropractor now for almost 3 decades. Hard to believe. Practiced the majority of my time in the San Francisco Bay Area, known as San Mateo, the home of Tom Brady. And
Mm.
we recently moved out to Las Vegas, April of 21, and opened our clinic just over a year ago. So it's been great, and I'm very happy and excited to be here with you today, Doug.
Well, I am so glad to have you. And just for everybody listening, just to remember to subscribe if you want to get more interviews, just like the one we're about to have with Chris here. Subscribe to the podcast. You could do that. If you're on YouTube, it's right there. Wherever you are, it's adjacent. So just subscribe. But Chris, we're going to dive into some getting to know you questions a little bit. So have some
Sure.
fun. The first one is you're a very good chiropractor, as your patients would attest to.
Thank
But if you could instantly master any other skill, what would it be?
you. God, this was so hard to answer, but let's say in today's world, and just because I look back at all the skills I have that I've learned in the last 3 decades, but I'd say moving forward between now, it's to literally to master AI integration into the small business. No matter what, we're not going to avoid. We can't avoid it. Whether it's going to in our work life, in our personal life to a certain degree, and it's one of those things. You either learn it or be left behind. And I've always been one to stay up to date on things and kind of be one of the more pioneers of adding things to the practice. So I am heavily involved with it right now. Yeah,
Nice.
I mean, this it's coming. Whether it's good or bad, we're gonna be using it one way or the other.
Yes, and I would say we use it heavily in our business because, of course, we do
Sure.
marketing and things like that. But if you're a business owner in general, you may not have to master it, but you at least will have to have an understanding of it, and how to implement it, how it could be implemented in your business because your competitors are going to start implementing it in their business. Um,
Yeah.
and again, like kind of like you said, you either adapt or you get left behind, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Right.
yeah, that's awesome. So what's the most unusual or surprising wellness tip you have ever heard?
I not so much that I've ever heard, but I'm hearing a lot more now, and I've always been present, keep in mind, but is really making sure you're maintaining, good or great oral hygiene. Okay.
Mm,
Meaning like brushing your teeth, flossing your teeth. Um, Take care of them, because the thing is what happens, poor oral hygiene has been associated with dangerous conditions affecting cardiovascular and brain health. Okay, and
mm,
as a chiropractor, we everything is focused and centered around the central nervous system. Inflammation from dental bacteria can lead to infections in the heart lining
mm.
called endocarditis. All right, and oral bacteria can lead to clogged arteries and heart attacks. So there's a couple things that my wife introduced me to a few years ago called oil pulling, where you just get like a teaspoon of coconut oil, swish it in your mouth for about 2 or 3 minutes, make sure it gets around the gums, and then you spit it out and you rinse the mouth out. And that coconut oil has a lot of anti-inflammatory properties, which is especially great for your gums and your teeth, and also any possible infections too. So these are and these are all things that we try to do to reduce any kind of inflammatory effects that our body is bombarded with on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't get that. They don't usually hear see your dentist or die, but um,
Right, right.
it's usually they think, oh well, it's cosmetic, right?
Mhm.
No,
Right,
it's actually for your health.
right.
So he's a chiropractor telling you this. He's not trying to win your business as a dentist.
Right.
Um,
Exactly, right.
so the Coconut oil, I had not heard that. So thanks for that tip. That's something that I'm going to start doing.
Yeah, well, the thing about coconut oil, when you think about it, it's one of the better things to cook with
Mm.
because a lot of people, do a lot of high heat cooking, and it has the best viscosity, so the oil doesn't break down under high heat conditions like olive oil does. That's why I tell people never cook with olive oil. It breaks down, and then all of a sudden now you have this inflammatory thing. Olive oil is purposely designed to dip anything in and to pour over, like your salad and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of avocado oil to cook with as
Okay.
well. These are especially, and never buy and always buy oil from a glass container. Never buy it in plastic because it'll leach more toxin and now you got an inflammatory product, right? Rather than an anti-inflammatory one. And never buy oils that have been infused. You're seeing a lot of these oils today that have a mixture of canola oil with this oil and that, and it's just like, no, make sure it's 100% of whatever the oil you are purchasing, and that'll make a big difference for your health.
I want to dive in here a little bit because
Sure.
we cook with olive oil.
Yeah.
It's out. We pay more for the glass bottle.
Right.
But I really had not thought about it breaking down like it does. And a lot of people think, well, it's healthier than, using grease.
Crisco.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Right.
but that is very interesting. And I have seen the avocado oil on the shelf as well.
Yeah.
And I want to get it as I lift this plastic water bottle up, right?
Right.
I watched a video of somebody that was some type of scientist or something the other day
Sure.
talking about how much plastic leaches toxins, and I think about how many bottles of water I drink. I'm drinking water because it's healthier than drinking other things, but then I'm
Right.
thinking, man, now I've got to get in a glass bottle.
Well, in you and a lot of other people, right? So, I mean, one of the biggest things I did in my household is we got rid of all the Tupperware plastic containers, and everything has been replaced with Pyrex. You can get a full set of Pyrex dishes at Costco for $20,
Mm-hmm.
and if you need more, pay another $20, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But anytime we take like food home to go, we remove it from the container, put it in one of our Pyrex glasses, throw it in the fridge. And because the thing is, these toxins, they affect your hormones too, especially for men, right? And it's like, look, we got enough things affecting us
Mhm.
already as we're getting older, right? We don't need to add to it. But it's you do what you can so you don't drive yourself crazy, but if there's any, especially we like to drink a lot, we drink coffee on a daily basis
Mhm.
and we brew our own, right?
Mhm.
But the thing is, I was looking the other day, I'm like, oh, that Mr. Coffee Maker, 90% of that thing is plastic,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so now I'm looking at, all right, what can I find on Amazon that's all no plastic? And these coffee makers, they're very well built. They'll run you about $100 to $200, but they're going to last you a long time. So, these are the kinds of things like we consume a lot of that. And if we're going to, we better make sure the device that we're using on a daily basis is going to serve us than not. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of things though that we bought a long time ago. We bought a really nice coffee maker, stainless steel,
Yeah.
carafe, and most of it is. I mean, there's some plastic to it, but it's a pretty good coffee maker.
Right.
Um, but the other thing about the water, I think the scientist was saying again. You mentioned brain health. It affects like the toxins
Yeah.
from this plastic affects your brain health.
Yeah. And look at the problems we're having across the country right now: dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson. It's rampant,
Hmm.
you know, and it's otherwise known as type 3 diabetes, right?
Hmm.
Because it's the next thing in line after type 2.
And I think back to my childhood. I was um actually there's stuff going on with my family right now where my grandma's house has come up, and we used to go, even soda was in glass bottles back in the day, right? And we'd go
Uh,
in and get a glass
Bottle
bottle
of
of soda.
Coke or Pepsi, yeah,
Yep.
root
And
beer.
um I don't remember hearing a lot about like dementia. There's a little bit around, but not as prevalent as it is now. But I'm just thinking there's some correlation there between all the plastic that we're consuming and the number of cases.
Yeah. And then, going back to the oral hygiene, right, that leads to cardiovascular problems. And we have more people than ever on blood pressure
Mm,
medication and statin drugs to lower cholesterol, And what a lot of people don't understand is these statin drugs, once you get past the age of 63, there's no clinical benefit to taking it anymore,
mm,
right? And I have people coming in here in their 70s and they're wondering why they're having issues. I said, because you're on something that doesn't work anymore. And now it's basically just a toxin, it's a super toxin in your body. And I always let people know, I get that you're trying to lower cholesterol, but your brain is 65% cholesterol. Your eyes are cholesterol. Your nerves are coding cholesterol. Your hormones need cholesterol. We need cholesterol, right? And cholesterol should never get below 150. Never get below 150. And if it does, you're in danger of neurological or neurodegeneration at a high rate. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Um, this might be going down a rabbit trail a little bit, but the I was at a men's event at church last night, and this I know you being in the health field, this will you'll have some insights to this. I was in line, I was greeting people. One of my jobs was to greet the other men as they were coming in,
Sure.
and one of them I used to play basketball with in the gym, and he's like, "We haven't seen you at basketball," and I said, "I'm a little too old. I'm 50 now, you know." And he's like, well, we have somebody else that's older than you still playing. And then lo and behold, I go and sit down and I'm sitting next to this gentleman. We start a conversation. He is 64 years old and still running ultra marathons. And he didn't start running till he was 51.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, God, that puts it in perspective.
Sure does. Yeah,
So,
that's right. Like you said, everyone goes through different things in life. It's just a matter of who's guiding them to get through it, right? That's that could. It's interesting. Like we see people, I'm too old for that, or I don't want to do that anymore. It's like, all right, well, do you want to? Well, yeah, but I can't because it's like, well, what if that was dealt with? Would you be able to do that? Would you want to do that? Yeah. So sometimes just you know what you know, and I really take for granted what I know. Being in the practice almost 3 decades now. Yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of people forget that so much of health is mindset around your health,
Oh yeah.
right?
My wife
Um,
reminds me all the time.
there I am, like saying I'm too old, right? When I start thinking I'm too old, I start feeling like I'm too old,
Mhm.
which
Right.
I think the way you think affects your body chemistry.
That's right. It's like,
Um,
what did I just say? Cancel, cancel.
yeah, exactly. So
Right.
I'm usually, and the funny thing is, I'm usually very positive about most other aspects of my life, but this
Uh-huh.
aging thing, I think, has just gotten to me. Like I finally
Okay.
realized I feel young in an old body, maybe, right? My mind my mind feels
Not a
exuberant.
bad thing.
Right,
It's not a
right.
bad thing at all.
But
Yeah.
I need to stop saying that I'm too old because I think
Right.
that programs my
Yeah.
brain.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, exactly.
Um, one of the staples that I like to stick with that came from the entrepreneur journey to the profit question business is the fill in the blank question. So
Yeah.
your fill in the blank question is a strong foundation in faith and business requires blank and blank.
Right. Yeah. For me, it's patience and consistency.
Mm.
So the thing is, we all want things now, right? Even in faith, it's like, we, oh my God, I just hope this goes well tomorrow, or please give me the fit right now. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. All right. Well, and in some cases it does. Don't get me wrong, but for the most part, even with what I do as a doctor, right, or as a servant, okay, with my patients, is I always tell my patients, hey, the doctor needs practice and the patient needs to be patient.
Mhm.
Okay. This took days, weeks, months, and years to get where you are. It's going to take some time to retrain your body to get it to the point where you want to be. And that's just not the physical part of it. There's also the mental, emotional aspect of it too, right? So, and when you leave the office, I'm not sure what you're doing between visits. When I see you, are you
Mhm.
doing things that are more harmful to the visit or that are going to benefit your visits, right? So there's got to be patience there. And, I used to think that, oh boy, if I don't get my prayers answered tomorrow, what kind of God is he, right?
Mhm.
And but at the same time, patience is a virtue. I've learned that. It took me many years to understand that. I think the biggest thing has been that uh, everything is perfect. No matter what happens, good or bad, there's a gift in it, and I just gotta, if I see that gift, whether it's now or maybe down the road, it's all perfect, right? And then as far as consistency goes, it's just the consistency of, prayer in the morning, prayer in the afternoon or evening, giving thanks, waking up just saying thank you. All right, I got another day that I could see, I could breathe, I could smell, I could feel. There's sun outside. I have shelter. I have whatever. You know, um, I'll never forget. Do you remember that doctor? Remember that movie Patch Adams?
I do. Yep. Robin
Yeah, well,
Williams.
I saw the real Patch Adams, completely different than Robin Williams, by the way. A lot
Wow.
different. And the one thing he said on stage was, he goes, "What do you complain? What's the problem? You got friends, you got food, you got clothes. What are you bitching about?"
Mm,
And it was interesting to hear him say that from someone who's a minimalist, okay, to
hmm
the utmost degree. And he says, "Hey, I got friends, I got clothes, yeah. What's to complain about, right?" So little things like that always put things in perspective, because the way life happens nowadays, things happen quick. Success can be you can enjoy success, and then someone can take it from you very quickly, or something. So, the old saying, God giveth, God taketh, right? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always like to keep that in mind. But it's just having the patience and the understanding, and just doing the best I can on a daily basis to my abilities. I'm not perfect by any means, but if I could just know that I'm doing the right thing, I feel like I'm going in the right direction.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode.
As a Christian entrepreneur, we want to give you something for free. If you go to clientsforthekingdom.com, we have an ideal client avatar generator on there for free. It's something that we've spent thousands of dollars on, countless hours out, and building out this structure of showing you who your ideal client avatar is and an offer stack that can work for your business.
Enjoy the rest of the episode. Yeah. I love all of that. And patience on God's timing. I've been having this conversation a lot lately, is being grateful for the storms that have come through my life.
Right.
And that's a hard thing in the storm, to be grateful. But
Oh
when
yeah.
you look back, you say, God, I see why you brought that storm into my life,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I needed to become this person that you're molding me to be. And it wouldn't have happened without that storm.
Yeah, yeah. Tom Brady was the first one to say that. He goes, "Look, I'm
Mm,
grateful for all the things I went through. I'm grateful for those Super Bowl losses. I'm great." I go, "It made me better the next time around." I mean,
hmm
you can't improve until you fail,
hmm
right? And so that's why you look at our president, Donald Trump. How many times did he go bankrupt? You know,
Yep.
he's
Yep.
doing he's doing okay, right? But at the same time, it's just, this is that part of, being a Christian, being an entrepreneur, is that, hey, we take all the risk.
Yeah.
We don't clock in at 9 and go home at 5 and expect a week or two of paid vacation a year. It's always with us to a certain
hmm
degree, whether at home or at the workplace. It's
hmm
it's like the bill's on us, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
The We could really dive into fear and how
yeah,
I feel like as Christian entrepreneurs, if we really take to heart what the Bible says about do not be afraid,
hmm,
we have let's just call it a blessing, I guess, if we really understand that, because as entrepreneurs, if we can progress knowing without fear, right,
yeah,
that as long as we're doing it within God's will,
sure.
um, uh, there's no reason for us to be afraid.
Yeah. Well, here's a perfect example, man. We moved to Las Vegas 4 years ago. We only knew a few people here. Okay. And then we opened a business, and I don't know if I ever shared the story with you, but my wife was in Israel. She went to one of our churches, because I couldn't go with her at the time. And she went to the Wailing Wall and said a prayer, and she was looking for a business partner, and it was someone other than me. Okay. But
hmm
it's just someone, she goes, "Look, there's nothing wrong with my husband, but I'm just looking for someone to partner with, knowing that everything's going to be okay." And lo and behold, after she gets back, or actually literally a day later, she gets a phone call from our now CFO,
Mm.
and business partner, Leo Cannell of Seven Figures Funding. Okay.
Wow.
And so this is someone we only known for about 2 or 3 years, but he actually called us saying, "Hey, I was doing some research and where you guys are in Green Valley, and this would be a great place to open a clinic." And Sandy goes, "You're not going to believe this. I just prayed on this." And so, like I said, it can happen quick.
hmm
We talk about patience and consistency, but when that happened, and once we started talking and about, what kind of clinic we want to have and how we want to serve people, it was perfect. And we just executed. We knew everything was going to work out. And 15 months later, yeah, we're having the best 2 months that we've ever had, starting in the new year right now. It's been great. It's been a blessing. It's been
Wow.
everything. Yeah,
Uh, I want to tie those two things together a little bit,
sure.
to patience and consistency, because what also comes to mind is I was a big Michael Jordan fan back in the day, but
Yeah.
then Kobe Bryant came along, and I just heard something that he had said, and it's about and it's I'm sure it's something he's been taught and I've heard before, but just getting 1% better every day, or just getting a little bit better
That's
every
right.
day. Some people want those monumental results in a day, and I think the secret is just to get incrementally better every single day, no matter whether it's in your spiritual walk, it's in your health, it's in your business. Just get a little bit better every day, and then you'll look back and you'll have that gratitude. Say, "Wow, I was consistent and I was patient." Time
And it
together, right?
compounded. It
Yeah,
compounded for me too. It's like, all right, wow, all right, I came a long way in really not that long period, not that period of time. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I love that you
I agree.
mentioned the compounding, because that's something that in our coaching that we say, do the comp things that are going to compound on one another. Do those things consistently, because
Right,
the better you get at a certain skill set, the more it'll compound and the more you'll
right.
advance. So
That's right.
yeah,
It's
that's really,
awesome,
really
man.
cool. Let's dive into a little bit about that health expertise right now. We ask a
Sure.
secret question on the Profitable Christian Business, and your secret question is, what is the secret to preventing chronic illness through holistic health?
You know what? The number one answer that I use in practice is to reduce inflammation.
Mm,
Okay? Everything begins with systemic inflammation. Any chronic disease you have is tied to inflammation. What is inflammation? A big part of it is, what are we putting in our mouth? Okay. What are we drinking? What are we eating? What are we smoking? What are we
mm,
inhaling? Okay. What are we putting on our skin? What are we putting on our hair? You know, these are all things that create inflammation if you don't know how to read labels, right? Or take the time to understand and learn more. Um, the Today in medicine has greatly failed, the public on helping people with this, because medicine is also one of the leading causes of death in the United States. Okay, not many people know that, but they are
yeah.
number three or number four
Hmm.
as far as iatrogenic disease, meaning hospital-borne illness, or from toxicity overload due to the amount of medications and other things that occur in that space. Now, am I saying that medical doctor is going to kill you? No. Okay. But you got to understand, when you get advice from a medical doctor, whether it's your general physician or your practitioner or whoever that is, they're going to give you medical advice. That medical
Hmm.
advice is going to come in the form of a scalpel or a pill or an
Hmm.
injection or whatever. Okay. And they're all toxic. That's one of the things we got to understand. A lot of people are dealing with things because of the toxicity overload from all the medication they've been on for years, days, and weeks, and they haven't taken care of the primary thing and that is their habits. They haven't taken care of the fact that, oh yeah, I have people coming in here, especially for weight loss, and with these semi-glutides like Ozempic and Wegovy, they're saying, oh yeah, just keep taking that. You can eat whatever you want. It's like, you gotta be kidding. No wonder these people
Hmm.
are. I mean, and I ask them, I go, that's your supervision? They actually gave you that advice? So you justified staying a diabetic, getting sicker, and dying younger just because of a sensation, right? It's an addiction when it gets
Hmm.
to a point. And one of the biggest things I tell people, remember, we live in a country, a superpower, that thrives on people being sick.
Hmm.
And we are praying, especially with this administration and the powers that be, this is all going to change. And just in the last month or what, the last 3 weeks, seeing what has been happening.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. I mean, everyone. This is the first time when you think about it, Doug, everyone is on notice. Big
Yeah.
Pharma, drugs. I mean, the IRS, the
Hmm.
Treasury. I mean, everyone is on notice
Food
that these
manufacturers.
food manufacturers. I mean, the biggest thing that killed me was watching these women in Detroit, okay, protesting in front of Kellogg's because they were saying, "Why are you poisoning our kids with the stuff in America? But in Europe, you're making a better product. You're
Hmm.
sending a better product to Europe, but you're poisoning us here in the good old U.S. of A."
Hmm.
And even to this day, I don't understand the money part of it. Like, why are we doing that to our country? Is it really that less expensive to poison us than to send a good high quality product across the seas?
Right.
I don't understand it. And so What I also don't understand too is why are those moms wasting their time protesting? Why don't they just stop buying the product?
Hmm.
I mean, the dollar always goes a long way. Look what happened when Target decided to go, hey, let's talk about trans, let's do all this. You know how many billions of dollars they lost because of
Yep.
that? Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
that it
Bud Light.
money talks, right? So inflammation from a standpoint is you got to understand what are you putting in your body, where are you buying your food? Are you eating out more often than you should? At the end of the day, you got to bring health back home. You got to go back to the days of the 70s and 80s
Hmm.
when the majority of your meals were cooked at home, and when you went out to eat, it was more of a luxury once or
Hmm.
twice a month. Okay, or fast food was once or twice a month
Hmm.
for that I remember. It was more of a treat. Hey, you just want to
Yeah.
go to McDonald's? All right, come on, let's go get a Happy Meal, whatever. And that was it. It wasn't something we ate multiple times a week, you know.
Yeah.
And that's that, So it's just we just gotta make more of an effort to take better care of ourselves. Learn. We can't rely on our doctors for everything. I mean, when you look at everything, everyone Googles everything anyway. So it's not like there's a lack of information out there. There's a lack of execution. That's what it comes
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. We I have a morning men's Bible study that I attend online as well. And there's a gentleman there, and his name is Jess, and he's a holistic nutritionist, right? And
Yeah.
one of the things is he's helping the men in the group with is going to the grocery store and just reading the labels. Yeah, if you go in and you read the labels, you're going to put more back on the shelf than you take off.
Yeah.
Um,
And here's
so,
something that'll help the men in your group too. Some of the two biggest things that you're going to see and these are like, let's say, manly things, right? Like
mhm,
barbecue sauce.
mhm,
All right. One of the biggest things I look on barbecue sauce is anything that is an artificial sweetener, like that says sucralose
mhm,
or that says NutraSweet, okay, aspartame, high fructose corn syrup.
mhm.
Anything with that, game over. It's a done deal. Not buying that product ever again. And the biggest thing that really gets people messed up is the marketing, the appearance of the product. Oh, it looks so healthy. It
Mhm.
looks so good. Did you read the label? And this
They
is how
slap organic
this how
on it.
yeah. There's no. And here's the thing too. If I see a non-GMO mark on there, I'm happy with that.
Hmm.
It doesn't necessarily have to say organic. Now, remember, it does cost a lot of money to put
Hmm.
an organic label on a product, but if it's a non-GMO, I'm happy with that.
Hmm.
Okay. But a lot of your sauces, a lot of your condiments, they taste so good because of the amount of sugar they put in
Hmm.
And this is what gets people sick. So
Well, let's talk about this because I would love your insights on it.
yeah,
One of the things that he talked about, there are some ways to make some of your favorite things that you like to eat without
oh, yeah,
all the extra stuff and to still have the sweetness, like honey.
yeah,
Honey is maple syrup,
yeah,
if the right maple syrup.
sure,
Um,
right, yeah,
one of the
good
things that
maple syrup.
the one that he talked about as well is one of the worst parts is bread, are the bread that you buy at the store. So
Right,
he's got a lot of the guys making their own bread or buying the bread that's in the freezers.
right. One of the best, if I buy bread, I'm a big fan of organic, non-GMO sourdough bread.
Mm, hmm.
Did you know that a slice of bread with your meal will actually lower the entire glycemic index of the meal?
Wow, I did not.
No, and I learned that from Dr. Mark Hyman. He's a medical doctor, functional medicine practitioner, but he says it's almost like a phenomenon, you know. But there's a lot of probiotics in that bread,
Mm,
the way it's designed and made, and and not all sourdough bread is equal. You got to buy the good, pay the extra buck for the good
hmm.
stuff. Your body will thank you later. So yeah,
Yeah. Oh, a lot of what this makes me think of too is like a lot of people are thinking, well, to buy healthier stuff, it's more expensive. I've always heard the adage that you either eat your food as medicine now or you eat medicine as your food later.
oh wow, that's yeah, pay now or pay later, right? I mean,
Yeah.
choice is yours. I mean, the way I look at it is, I have kids in here who are athletes, and I lean into them. I go, "What do you eat at lunch?" I eat this at the cafeteria, or I'll have some this. I go, "Really?" I go, "What do you want to do after high school, or what do you want to get into? You want to accelerate in sports?" He goes, "Yeah." I says, "Well, good luck. If you keep eating like that, you are a high performance athlete and you're putting in the lowest grade food possible. How do you expect to excel if you're not fueling your body with what God intended you to have in you? Okay? You need super octane, bro. You're not
Yeah.
an 89 octane dude. You are
Yeah.
a 92 and above with an octane booster. Okay.
Yeah, nitrous.
And yeah, I said, do you want to treat your body like a Pinto or like a Ferrari? You know, what makes more sense here? You know, and so these are little things I have because I tell these kids, they're wondering, well, God, he seems to be sick all the time. He seems to be going through this. I go, what is he eating? What is he drinking? You know, I said, let's put it on him. You know, even though you're the
Mhm.
parents, it's like, let's put it on him. He's the one that gets to put it in his mouth at the end of the day. And don't get me wrong, these kids know what's good and what's not. They really
Mhm.
do. They're a lot smarter than we were growing up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They get a lot more information. We basically had a plate put in front of us and said, "Eat that."
Eat it. Yeah, right. Yeah. Be grateful. You
Yep,
know, the
yeah,
starving children in Africa, right?
yep,
You
exactly. Yep, I remember that
know?
line. I don't want to eat this. Well,
Yeah.
the kids in Africa would want to eat it.
Right, right. Exactly. But
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
that's a big thing. Yeah, that's a huge thing there. You know,
nice.
like
Well,
what you were saying with the bread.
I think this is a good segue. So, what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about chiropractic and functional health in general, or functional medicine?
Sure. You know, the biggest thing is that we're a neck and back pain specialist, right?
Mm,
Or that once you go, you always have to go. We're not
mm,
real doctors. Well, let's talk about that for a second because, you know, it's even in my 3 decades of practice, I mean, I still get that. And
mm,
and I'm not insulted by it. It's just people don't know.
mhm,
You know, the thing is, what people do know is they see drugs on TV all the time. They
mhm,
see contact your doctor about that. You know, this is the cultural authority that they're seeing, right? And with professions like chiropractic or naturopaths or people doing the functional health thing, you know, we don't have an AMA that gets millions of dollars from all these the powers that be, from big pharma, from all these organizations to push their product on people, right? So we have to do a lot of educational things. So, you know, I got my doctorate in chiropractic. I took the same classes that they did that a medical doctor does. I got tested by a board. I took written boards, oral boards. I mean, I had to make sure I was proficient to understand every system of the body. Um, Now, it's interesting about the neck and low back pain. The reason why a lot of people consider that is, you know, that's what the market says we are.
mhm,
But when chiropractic was first discovered in 1896, the first chiropractic patient was a deaf person, and he got his hearing back.
wow.
Okay. In the early 1900s, I used to have an old newspaper article dated 1905 of people going to their chiropractors, not because they were in pain, but it was to stay healthy. They said, now that you know what you know, how dare you not get the benefits of chiropractic care and why you're still taking your drugs, why you're still doing this.
Mhm,
You know, it's like now that you understand that, you know, and I used to tell people back then, look what they were looking at back then. They had really no information, but they
mhm,
but they had a lot of common sense.
mhm,
And then today we have all the information in the world, yet we're still the sickest country in the world,
mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I think that
So
goes back to the food we're putting in.
yeah,
One of the things that I relate chiropractic to, like, so if I would go to a chiropractor to prevent having to go to a medical doctor
yeah,
down the road, because
yeah,
a chiropractor like you is gonna keep me healthy,
right.
right? Um, yeah, so
And that's
that,
and that's the other thing, you know, you're right. I mean, and I tell people too, I said, look, the choice is yours, whatever you want to do. My job is to teach. The word doctor means teacher.
mhm,
So if I'm doing something for you, as long as you have a pulse, you're experiencing stress, life, and gravity every day.
mhm,
Okay. The world is constantly pushing you to the ground. And if you feel better and function better after an adjustment or whatever care you receive, why would you ever stop it? Do you not think that life is not going to keep going on the way it is, that, hey, you're good for now? No. I mean, I mean, I take for granted I've been uh, adjusted on at least on a monthly or every 2 week basis since I was 15 years of age. I'm 53 now, you know, it's hard to believe, you know? So it's a choice people make. And if they make that choice, and no, my insurance doesn't cover it. Insurance covers drugs, it covers surgery, covers things that basically keep you sick. And what a lot of
some
people don't understand is when insurance companies write a check to the doctor, they get a percentage of that. Okay.
there
They,
are some insurance. My insurance company does cover chiropractic,
yeah,
which is great. Um,
sure. Yeah, I mean, and use it, but remember, it's not insurance is never designed to cure you. Insurance is designed to help you get by. So if you need more care after that, I don't know where we ever got in this habit or this understanding that boy, if our insurance doesn't cover it, we don't pay for it out of our own pocket anymore. You know?
right.
It's weird. It just,
Yeah,
it's like, well, you pay for food, right? Your gym's not covered by insurance.
that's right.
Your utility bills aren't covered by insurance. Your car's not, do you have to make a decision based on insurance? Or are you doing this because you want to get somewhere in a short period of time? Yeah.
Let's just talk about insurance just for a second because this just came to
Yeah.
mind. Why is health insurance like car insurance? Like you get a safe driver discount. Why don't you get a discount if you go to the gym, if you see a chiropractor, if you do all this preventive stuff? Why don't you get a discount on your insurance?
That is, you would think those who go that extra mile to take care of themselves should get rewarded in a certain way. I remember not too long ago in the early 2000s, the workplace was doing that. The workplace would say, "Hey, look, if you get these metrics done and you show us that you're getting healthier, you know what we're going to do? We're going to lower your." There was something that their insurance premiums would go down in the workplace.
Mm.
So said, you know what? We'll bonus you for that because you are making an effort to show us with proof, okay, with your lab work or a body comp analysis, that you are taking measures to be healthier so you are less of a risk to the world and less of a risk to making an insurance claim. So it's
Yeah.
like, and so that came in the workplace more or less. It didn't come in general, but it should, you know. The word health insurance, there's nothing healthy about insurance. All right. I mean, you only use it when you don't use it to stay healthy. You use it because you're in crisis. It's kind of like when people say, I can't believe my car insurance went up again. Man, I'm paying so much for it. I don't even use it. I go, be careful what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it, you do not ever want to use your car insurance.
That's right.
And they go, what do you mean? I go, well, think about it. Why would you use it? Because you got into an accident, you're in the hospital, you're near death. I mean, think about it. You got to have it because that's what you got to do. But I hope you never have to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This just comes to mind. My mom passed from cancer. I just want to circle back into the food conversation and medicine because my mom had one of the worst diets I've you could have. We went to her house and we had to clean out her house while she was trying to get better because it was all junk food throughout her house. And not once did a medical doctor talk to her about her diet. When we as a family knew that was what was the main contributor to what eventually killed her.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my sister's going. My sister's.
Here's the thing, Doug. Just so you know, the struggle's real. I have
Yeah.
a father who's a type 2 diabetic. Okay, and his brain and comprehension is dwindling away. I mean, it's sad to see. And just for the audience, by the way, the ones you love the most are your worst patients, by the way. Okay, so you think my father would listen to me all these years and just say, he's not. I mean, he's had, because of diabetes, multiple strokes, little ones, right? His brain is slowly degenerating. And now it's getting more and more rapid. My brother said, Chris, I just spoke to Dad yesterday. He doesn't remember the conversation. And my sister saying, Chris, will you go check on Dad? Will you go? It's just like, man, it is so hard. And I'll never forget the one time I went there. I literally had 3 big, green Glad bags, that you use to put a bunch of leaves in from your yard. And I filled him up with all the stuff he had in his cupboards because it was mostly white sugar, things that had all kinds of stuff in it. And it's like, you got to be kidding me, And I literally took it and I said, give it back to the food pantry. I go, you can't do this anymore. And, but the funny thing about my father, he's highly resilient. He's 84 years old. Oh my God, how is he still, God must have a purpose for him still. I mean, it's like, how is he not, 6 feet under yet, but it's also very stressful on the family, on the ones who love him the most, because, no one wants to see a loved one dwindle away. And, here it is, we're trying to protect his heart and everything else. It's like, well, okay, but if he doesn't have a brain anymore, what's the point? Does it really matter? Yeah.
Right,
So,
yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying, especially with cancer, drugs, toxins, those all lead to cancer, right? And so look at our food. Look at all the chemicals in our food. Look at all the chemicals, things we cook with, eat with. It's like, my goodness.
And I wonder
Adds
how
up.
many I wonder how many of the additives that are added to our food are made us to be addicted. I know in fast food it's done, but in the
Oh
food in
yeah.
the grocery store, how much other than just sugar is added that's an actually addictive chemical?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, sugar is a
Yeah,
drug, right?
yeah.
In the it just always has been. And one of the things we look at is what like you get a condiment like a bottle of ketchup and you see the sugar, then it says added sugar. It's like,
Right.
oh, it's not sweet enough, right? We
Yeah,
gotta add more. Yeah,
yeah.
so then you got stuff like that you really have to look out for. But yeah, I get it.
Well, let's switch just a little bit. This has been, I'm sure, you haven't, if you don't know a lot about like health, this has been very informative to you. And hopefully, if you're one of these people that has been struggling with their health, maybe some of this information will help you. Like when you go to the grocery store, look at the labels. Spend more money now today on what you put in your body, so that you're not spending more money at a hospital later.
Oh, Doug, and one more thing. Encourage your men that you work with, get the Yuka app.
Mm,
It's Yuka, because it'll tell you how much toxicities, and it'll grade the product from a
oh.
toxicity standpoint. Like it like really bad, like is it at the close to 100%, or is it like really bad? And so a friend of mine who's really keen on his health, he's from Kansas City. He's been using like Sweet Baby Ray's
Mm,
barbecue sauce and everything, and that thing's filled with hyper. He goes, well,
mhm.
not doing that anymore. That's all because he got an app, and now his eyes are open. He goes, Chris, it's like the sky is blue or the grass is greener. I'm like seeing things I never thought I'd see before.
That brings to mind something. I was going to switch to technology for a second, but
Sure.
let's talk about energy levels for a second. Just because
Yeah.
this, I and this could you could tell me this has just all been in my mind, but hopefully
Yeah.
it's not. When I go to get like when I've gotten a couple adjustments, I automatically feel like my energy levels have increased. Is
Oh
there a
yeah.
tie to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like think of the remember, there's stress, life, and gravity constantly pushing you to the ground. You're constantly being suppressed in the environment we live in from stress, just everything, right? The powers that be. So when you're getting adjusted not to for the purpose of hearing a bone crack or getting a release of something. Well, that release is a release of energy. Think of like you're in your home, the circuit breaker, right? Or the fuse box. If there's a surge of energy in there, well, that's going to trigger some of the switches, right? So you got to reset the breakers. So anytime you reset a breaker, you're reestablishing communication. All right, you're reestablishing that current, that energy flow to where it needs to be because too much of it got there, and the fail-safe program said, hey, we gotta hit the button there. We gotta do a reset. Well, every time you're getting adjusted, you're doing a reset. It's like it's like the light switches, in your when you walk into a room, it's dark, and then you turn the light switch on, there's light. Chiropractic the same way. It's like, all right, wow, I can't believe how much better I just feel. And I've had young men come into my office like teenagers, and they kind of come in like this, right? Kind of come in a little dull, and then boom, they get that neck adjustment, and you literally see the white of their eyes. It's like, wow, someone woke up, you know. So I always tell people it's like we're turning on the power. Let's turn the light switches on here. Come on, you're not at the right frequency right now. We gotta get this going again. Come on, you're too young to be like this. Let's turn it on. So chiropractors, we're like power setters, like power resetters. It's like when you get adjusted, let's turn your power on. Okay, that's if you understand that concept. Structure equals function. If you don't have proper structure alignment, you're not going to get the proper function, and we got to get that power going so we can make sure that you are where you need to be.
I'm going to loop this all back around again because we talked about businesses and how insurance what like they took care of the employees. So
Yeah,
we have a lot of business owners that listen to this. So if you really want to take care of your employees, maybe you pay for their chiropractic, right? So because think about it, they'll be more productive. They'll miss less days of work.
yeah,
Uh, it's just if you can pay as an employer, pay for the preventive things or the
sure.
stuff that keeps them healthy.
Mhm.
Um, I think you'll just have a better employee base overall, and they'll feel better and they'll be more productive. So,
Some ways of doing that too, from a business standpoint, is to offer health saving accounts,
mm,
right?
hmm
So let's say if the patient is doing some, or patient, I mean, if the employee is exemplary, you'll match them with on their HSA accounts, so that way they'll have extra money to spend on their uh, you know proactive care, rather than reactive care, right?
Yeah.
Because
I feel like
when you got, because here's the thing, you got a healthy employee, you got a heart, you got a sharper employee, you got someone who's more of a leader, willing to take on the reins of things and not complain as much. You got an exemplary employee. That's what happens. The healthier, the better.
yeah. So now we're finally going to get to that technology question I had.
Yeah.
So how do you integrate cutting edge technology with the natural health approaches for your patients?
Well, I've been doing this for many years, literally since the late 90s. When I was in Burlingame, California, I met uh, uh, a gentleman, a scientist. He was a NASA scientist, and he came out with a product called MyoVision. And MyoVision is a surface EMG product. So I would have these electrodes, okay, that would place on the spine as I was going down the spine, and it didn't hurt the patient. It read the electrical impulses that your muscles emit on the surface of your skin, hence surface electromyography. And based on the readings we got, whether it was like red was high areas of muscle activity, and then green was ideal. Okay. And then yellow was fatigue, meaning like the muscles aren't even firing because they're so fatigued. So if they're not firing, that means they're not supporting the spine. They're not functioning. And when I would do these scans on people in real time in a forced posture, meaning they're standing, people really got the idea. Wow, I guess I need to click the circuit breaker in that part of my spine there. So there you go, right? And so it was a great, and then also with the tech, and we still use that technology today, right? It just so happens that that same person I was talking about, Dave Marcari to my vision, he now lives here in Nevada, in
Wow.
the town next door. So I get to see him more often again. And it's like we go back going, man, it's amazing how the world changes, right? So, and then the newest thing I have is this. This is like a thermal gun, right? So I take a picture of the person's spine and I get a thermal image, okay,
Wow.
of what they look like. And that thermal image gives me an idea of, it only takes a split second. By the way, this is not the same thermal imager that you get from your iPhone or your iPad. That is used for circuitry. This is FDA cleared for human tissue. There's a difference. It all looks cool, but this is what you want. Thermal vision from MyoVision, right? So, but this is, so when I do that, I can see before my after treatments, did the inflammation go down? Did circulation improve? It's pretty cool, especially with the new technology we have called soft wave tissue regeneration technology, which is shockwave technology. So when I put up a screen of what someone's knee looks like before and after, it's very congruent with not only what they see, but how they feel. And that is when you know things have changed and why my colleagues are not embracing this as much. I don't know if I just told you, but we just now are about ready to implement and integrate an AI attendant for phone calls.
Wow.
Okay. We are, like I said, we're diving in,
Nice.
because we want to help more people. We want to be more efficient and we want people to have a better experience than they are anywhere else. And so even in this long of practice, I'm still inspired and motivated to continually learn and get better and better because my patients deserve it. That is what is asked of me. That's my responsibility to always up level and learn because the world is changing and I got to stay with that as well, especially for my own health.
Yeah. I've been hearing a lot lately about the shockwave type of health
Oh, wish
instruments.
I had it 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's
incredible.
powerful.
It's been a game changer in the way that I practice, because I still do the chiropractic. But with this new technology, this is the stuff that these athletes get. You wonder how do they get back on the field faster?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shockwave came to the country as a form of lithotripsy, back almost 25, 30 years ago. And it was designed to break up kidney and bladder stones kidney and bladder stones so they can pass easier, right? So this is technically what it is, but it's allowing, when you think of waves going through the body, think of like waves going against the sand. The more waves, it's smooth as the sand over. Well, just like these shock waves, they're basically powerful acoustic sound waves. They're going through the tissue, reorganizing it, allowing things to move better, allowing things to flow better, allowing things to function better at an accelerated rate. Actually, the one thing I always let people know when you talk about circulation, with shockwave, especially the one we have is an FDA approved machine. I could actually say, look, we're improving circulation in your body wherever we're focusing on by 300%.
And then circle back to energy, right? So better circulation in your body,
Yep.
the more energy you have.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about a different type of energy. Let's talk about faith a little bit.
Yeah.
So can you share with the listeners how prayer is played in your journey as a chiropractor and just through entrepreneurship?
Sure. It didn't happen overnight. Let's tell you that. It probably didn't happen until I remarried again, 16 years ago. And truth be told, I'm not perfect by any means. And there's times where I still struggle, with it. But my wife always finds a way to show me the light on that, thank God. And, so it does play a big role. I mean, we have to we make decisions on a daily basis. And I always tell people you only know what you know, but the one thing I do know is I don't know. I put it in God's hands. Sometimes I
Right.
say, you know what? This is in God's hands. I'm gonna do what I do best. We prayed on it. We're gonna let's just focus on what we got to do. Everything's gonna work out. And one of the biggest things my wife and I always say, whatever there's something here. We never say we can't do that. It's like, we always ask how. How are we
Mhm.
gonna? We always stay in the how. How are we gonna do that? Or we're always going to say we're going to work it out. Whatever comes up, he goes, all right, we got to work this out. Whether it's taking time for this, doing this, it's like let's work it out. We're not going to just doom and gloom. Let's do it, right? We can't run away from things because running away is the you're just running into more problems, right?
Yeah, I could see this health analogies there too.
Yeah.
Like, how often do we not get the things fixed in our health and we let them sit there and they get worse? It's the same thing with our relationships, with our spiritual life, right? We have to
Sure.
continue to work through it.
Yeah. And the other thing too that helps, like you were saying, people work through things is just taking responsibility.
Mm.
Anything that happens in my life, my wife and I, especially when COVID happened, right? I said, look, we're responsible for our own health. I'm not responsible for them, or them. I'm not getting the vax because I'm not trying to put down the curve. I go, last I heard, my health is my responsibility.
Hmm.
You do whatever you want. If that serves you, you do it. But don't say that I have to do something for the greater good of the country, right, or the community. And so that's one thing: taking responsibility for my own health, make my own decisions, researching things, and just doing that. But anything that happens, my wife and I come from a standpoint that no matter what happens to us, we are responsible for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Somehow or another, we show up. That's how we show up. We're not victims. We never have been. I can't remember the last time I was a victim, even though there are victims out there. We do not have that mentality. We do not choose to live that way. We do not choose to live in fear.
Yeah. Oh wow. Live in fear. Again, circle back. Do not be afraid.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
whole victim mentality is a mentality of fear.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I did live in fear once,
Yeah.
and this is a great story, by the way. I was going through my divorce first with my first wife. I've only been married twice. I only plan on being married twice, by
Yeah.
the way. But I remember I felt I had, woe was me. I felt a lot of guilt for what happened in my previous marriage. And I didn't get it. My wife had an attorney. I didn't have one.
Hmm.
I was missing court dates. I was a mess in the office, did a lot of drinking. I can't believe my staff did not like leave me or quit at the time. And the biggest thing I wasn't doing was I was missing court dates, right?
Hmm.
But I wasn't taking action. I
Hmm.
should have gotten an attorney, not to give it to my wife, but just to like know that someone's in my corner, so I'm not missing dates. Someone to help me work things out. Someone to give me the things I needed. So if there's ever a point in my life where I've had some kind of stress or anxiety or like some kind of worry, it's like, okay, where's the part of my life right now I'm not taking action in? There it is.
Hmm.
Okay, what do we got to do? Especially my wife
Yes.
is one that goes, okay, you're acting like you could fill in the blank, right?
Hmm.
What do we got to do to make this work out? Because this is not going to work for us, So
Yeah. That's such a good point. Taking action. One of the things that I like to tell people, sometimes if you're starting to feel financial stress,
yeah,
go help somebody financially.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's amazing. You hit it right on the head. It's like, hey, when you're out there, you see a guy, he was obviously homeless or going through that. Give the guy 10 or 15 bucks.
Hmm.
Because I used to because little things like that. It's like, all right, I might as well help someone. I'm going through something right now, but let me help someone else. That's my problems are nothing compared to theirs.
Right.
Nothing. I always remember, hey, I thought I had problems. Okay. I always put that in perspective, but you're absolutely right. It's like, Okay, I need help in this. Well, who can I help right now with this? That
Hmm.
is a lot worse than I am, because my problems, they'll work themselves out eventually. But by putting that, just paying that forward to some degree, and then God sees and hears everything, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. And
always
it
come
just
back.
shows it to me it's a matter of faith on who it all belongs to anyway,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
if you know that God's going to take care of you, again, back to the no fear.
Yeah, no fear.
So,
Like in the
um,
80s, no fear.
that's right. I mean, I had one of those shirts. I think it was for skating, right? No
Right,
fear.
right. Or
I wasn't much of a skate
surfing
guy
or
though.
skate or
Yeah,
ski or
one of
something,
them.
right? It was the no fear thing,
Yeah.
right?
So well, I'll have one more question after this, but this will be
Yeah.
the question before the last one. Can you talk about how some biblical principles align with the natural healing and functional medicine?
Uh, that's I would say, the biggest thing I have found, God has provided plants and herbs as natural remedies, right? For your physical and emotional well-being.
Mhm.
Uh, we we have the fruit, right? I mean, we have animals that we have domain over, right? We have all these, everything we have is perfect. And it's amazing how we can screw it all up, you know, right? You
Yeah.
know, it's like, here he is, he gives us the perfect cow, the perfect pig, the perfect chicken. Uh, but to feed the masses, there's a process that goes through it, right?
Hmm.
And there's also a way to profit from that. And where the most profits are, usually tends to be the worst product that we receive, right? So it's about understanding where things come from, doing some research, buying your food from different sources. Um, for example, I made some chicken. My wife likes Butcher Box, so we can order
Mm-hmm.
products from there. And I made some chicken breast the other day, and I'm like, wow, this tastes amazing. And I look on the label and I look at all the things on it: non-GMO, organic, sustainably farmed, sustainably raised, whatever you want to call it. And what a difference from the texture to the taste to how it felt in my mouth. It just, everything about it. It was a superior product. How much are we not doing that for ourselves, and to do what we need to do, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we gotta be better stewards for ourselves, and also we got to take time to learn. We got to take. It's not, you just can't. You got to go out and learn from people. It's like going. We're always in. To me, I'm always in school. I feel like I'm always taking a webinar and something, learning something. That's just me. On
Yep.
top of being in the office all day, I'm
Yep.
always trying to, like, what else can I do to be of service?
Yeah. There's a lot in the Bible about seeking wisdom, right? Continually
Yeah,
seeking wisdom and getting uh mentorship from places. So
yeah,
I'm all on board with that too. I love the point. God gave us most of the things that we need for our health and wellness.
right.
And yes, to feed the masses, there has to be a process to it, but most of go back to organic, right? And just to bring back to your chicken reference, there
Yeah.
was we had my family had ate some chicken, used to eat some chicken, and you know how they fill it so full of water, and it just tastes rubbery and
Oh
just
yeah.
that. And then we started eating, like, we haven't ate that chicken in a while, but then we started eating the better chicken, chicken that actually had the natural texture it should
Yeah, right.
and taste. Um, it was so much better. And just recently, we had thought we had bought the same type of chicken, and it's amazing the difference when you have good versus bad. And like when you get adapted to the good, you can't eat the bad. We immediately
Well,
she cooked that.
that's great you say that. That is so perfect you said, because when you're so used to eating good things, when you ate something bad. Like when
Mhm.
I go to being in Las Vegas out here, there are so many great restaurants here to go to. And it's so hard to circle back to the one you like because there's 30 on the list that you haven't tried yet.
Mhm.
But the biggest litmus test for us is, after our meal, how do we feel? Do we
Mhm.
feel bloated? Do we feel, ugh? How do we feel? Do we feel nourished, or do we feel poisoned?
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
determines if I'm ever going back there again. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's
So,
that's so true though.
so
It's all relative.
yep.
Garbage in, garbage out.
So I'm challenging anyone to go out there and do like the Pepsi challenge or whatever it is. Like put
Yeah,
some, well, that's not good, but put some
right.
put a plate of nice, good organic food against something that is more manufactured, if you will call it that, right? And
Yeah.
then how do you feel after eating each one, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
There you go.
yeah,
It was nice going down, but it didn't stay down nicely, did it?
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, it has been awesome having you back on the show.
Ah,
We covered so much ground around health and
I
faith, and
know.
I'm sure there's going to be so many good reels that come out of this, and
Yeah.
some great information. So thank you again. I do have one last question that I ask
Sure.
everybody, and that is it's open-ended. What parting words of wisdom do you have to pass on to the entrepreneurs listening?
You know what? You just keep going. Don't stop. Don't give up. And just remember the body always wants to heal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Always does.
that's very good.
You cut yourself, it wants to heal. You know, you get sick, you want to feel better. It always wants to heal. Just get out of its way.
And put the good stuff in your body and not the bad stuff.
That's right. Exactly.
That'll help it heal. Well, thank you again, Chris. And until next time, entrepreneurs, keep moving forward.
Mahalo.
Thanks for checking out the Profitable Christian Business Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and share.